Hi, Christy.
Hi, Jeff.
We're recording now.
The many hours of conversation you and I have had, we've had probably half of them that haven't been recorded.
You know what we should do? We should start a podcast.
You think? Let's call it the why and the buy.
All right.
Welcome back, everyone, to episode 16 of the Why and the Buy. I'm Christie Walters, and I'm joined by Jeff Bajorek. Say hi, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Today, we're going to talk about the magic of delighting others and leaning in, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. Basically, it's all about fun.
Look, Christy, I've said it before. You've heard me say it. I've said it to you. I say it to clients. I say it to people. I say it to my kids. If you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. And listen, work is called work for a reason. You can't enjoy every single moment of every single day. But if you can't look at the end of every day and look back at that day and say, yeah, I had fun today, then you're missing something. And I think fun is just one of those keys that gets missed a lot. And it's really unfortunate because you can make the mundane fun if you're just willing to look at it from a little different angle.
Right. And I think there's a lot of responsibility for making it fun for others as well.
Well, I mean, that's selling, right? I mean, you think about differentiating yourself. You think about making a connection. You think about just coming across as someone who other people want to be around.
Yeah.
Think about your best friends. How many of your best friends are just Eeyores, right? Just down in the dumps constantly, and they got a bad energy and pace and flow about them.
Not my friends.
No, and you know what? Very few people have friends like that. And so, and the people who have friends like that are like that. So good for them. That's fine. But they can stay sequestered in their own little friendships. That's fine. I don't have really any desire to surround myself with people who bring me down. And I don't know very many other people who do. So I think sometimes it's the simple little concepts, right? It's the simple ideas of, hey, if I'm not having fun, I may be doing something wrong. And then if I am having fun, maybe it's because I'm doing a lot of things right. And maybe the fact that I'm doing a lot of things right is making things fun. And maybe that's a cycle that I should encourage, right?
Sure.
But you don't think about it that way.
Right.
Find something you love to do and you'll never work a day in your life. Well, okay, it's a little oversimplistic, kind of platitude. But when you think about it, people like doing stuff that they like to do, right? And if you can find a way for those things to line up, then it goes a long way and you'll be better at what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, one of the things that you and I talk about quite a bit when we talk with people about networking and the magic of sales, it's all about helping other people. So oftentimes you can take something that maybe is a little dull and turn it into something fun because you're helping someone else go further in their career or make a sale or do something that they never thought they could do.
And that's fun. I mean, think about when you break through a barrier, that's fun. When you do something like what Don the Idea Guy does and you turn creativity into a game, that becomes fun. When you do something like Chi-Chi Okizi, another one of our guests, and you take networking and you make it simple and you make it repeatable and memorable, you make it fun, right? When you take content creation or authenticity like Christina Evans and Shannon Peng do, that is fun. When you take selling like Liz Wendling and you make it fun because you take ownership of it. When you take leadership and you make it fun like Alejandro did just a couple of weeks ago. I mean, I think I managed to find a creative way to mention every single one of our guests to date on these 16 episodes that we've had, right? How crazy can I take this and still get back to my point, right? I try to make people laugh every chance I get. And I mean, let's just think about that for a second. Think about your interactions with other people. How many people are you trying to make laugh every day? How many people are you trying to make a memory for every day? I used to wait tables, and I would try to make every single one of my guests laugh, and I couldn't do it. because some people just want their food, they want to keep their head down and just bring me the bill and I'll tip you $1 and you're going to get out of my face, right? But other people, you really made a memorable experience for. And I don't know. Life's too short.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think, one of the things, I think mentioning our past guests is a great example of the people that we surround ourselves with, right? Those guests would not have been invited on the Why and the Buy podcast if they had not had this overwhelming positive message, fun approach to share with our audience. And that doesn't mean that you have to always be warm and fuzzy. Sometimes you also have to ask the hard questions, but you have a passion and a drive behind it that is ultimately about making your life and the lives of those around you better.
Well, that overarching message, there are several levels to that too. I mean, you think about making everything you do part of this big, fun experience. That's fine. Let's go a little bit more micro than that. Let's look at this podcast, since we're speaking of our guests. And
Sure.
This is episode 16. We've got a lot of these under our belts. Learning how to use the recording software, learning how to use the editing software, learning how to even put together the infrastructure around a podcast, which is essentially like running its own little company, right? I mean, you and I split up the roles. I don't think when we had this idea, we decided that we wanted to run a joint venture company, right? But that's really what this has to be. And there's all these little steps along the way that each one is just like, yeah, I gotta do that. I don't really want to do that, but oh no, I made a commitment. I've got an accountability partner, so I'm going to do that. And then you go do these things that you really don't want to do, that are uncomfortable, that force you into other levels of discomfort because you got to learn new stuff. But then you put it all together and you press send, right? You press publish, and then you look and your picture's on iTunes. That's fun. And when you look and you get feedback from all these people on Twitter and on LinkedIn, and I had a great time being a guest on the Why and the Buy podcast, you should download it. You should check it out. And then there's people talking about it. And then you see your logo up there getting tossed around. And these are simple things. It's nothing new to see a logo or your name anymore on the internet. You can put it there, right? I mean, we put it there. But it's really cool and it's really fun when you look at a final project and you mix it together and it's like, wow, that's a band that I know because one of the members of the band is related to me, and I was in that guy's first band, and this is so cool. Now we're on the internet, and there are literally thousands of people listening to us every month. You think about the scope of that. That's fun. And so not every individual task has to be fun, and they all can't be, right? Because fun is, of course, relative. So relatively speaking, some stuff is more fun than others, and different people have different levels. But look at what we did. Yeah. If you're listening right now, look at what you can do. Because I tell people all the time, if I can do it, you guys can do it.
Oh, yeah.
I have applied myself in ways that few people will apply themselves. And I'm very talented in my own ways. So I don't mean to disparage myself in that regard. But you've got all-star level talent, Hall of Fame level talent somewhere in your life. And a little bit of focus, a little bit of determination, a little bit of diligence will get you to be able to display that. And I don't know, there's people literally across the globe on the other side of the world who have heard me talk. They've never met in person, but have heard me talk and tune in on purpose every week. That is fun.
Yeah, it is. It's actually kind of fun. You and I, most of the audience doesn't know this, but you and I, after we finish these recordings, we kind of go through and we take a look at our stats. We see kind of what our downloads look like, what what episodes are really hitting the mark, and we even for fun take a look at how many countries we're in right now. And I think we are in 11 different countries right now on the Why and the Buy podcast. It's actually been a ton of fun. I think our top episodes thus far for downloads have been Simple Networking with Chi-Chi Okeezy and The American Dream with Christina Evans, which just released a couple of weeks ago. And it's just fun to watch that. And it's fun to watch those individuals also experience an uptick in their activity as well. So, I hope for our audience that isn't a guest on the Why and the Buy podcast, which, by the way, today we're getting a lot of requests for people to come on and do interviews. But if you know of someone that you'd love for us to interview on the podcast, I encourage you to email us, thewhyandthebuy@gmail.com or info@thewhyandthebuy. And tell us. You give us contact information, we'll reach out and connect with that individual. Tell us what you want to hear too. And the other thing is that we're looking for topics and people who can talk about specific topics. If you look at Shannon and Christina, what we loved about the two of them is that they have built this social media following just by being authentic and kind of sharing their experience and being consistent on a regular basis. So felt like that was a great message to send to our audience. Alejandro, if you haven't listened to that episode, you certainly want to go back and listen to that one. His energy is infectious. And I just love every time I get a chance to interact with him. He just always has these incredible gems of value that he shares every time I connect with him. So, yeah, I mean, I think this has been fun, given the fact that we started out with Google Hangouts on air back in October and misrecorded or didn't record a few episodes. We've kind of done it all. But so not all of it's been fun, but I'm really having a blast. I'm loving it.
Yeah, and so am I. And I think the interesting take from that, and it's a very poignant statement, is that not all of it's been a blast, but the whole project as a whole, right? Or the project as a whole has been an absolute blast. And, I think you got to be able to take that. I think you got to be able to take that approach. When I look back at the jobs that I had that I wasn't happy with, I wasn't having any fun anymore.
Yeah.
When I decided to play a sport, when I decided to quit a sport, it was, I think that'll be fun, or this really isn't what I thought it would be. And that is the approach I take with every project you take on. There's a certain vitality that comes along with joy. And I think that the perspective that you can get, we're all taught that working hard is good. It's a virtue. Mm-hmm. We're taught by our parents' generations and their parents' generations that the way you get ahead is by working really, really hard. And right now what we're seeing is this renaissance of talent and this renaissance of a means of putting that talent out there for other people to connect with. And think about some of the goofy stuff that's on TV right now. Right? It's just people following families or other people around with cameras and just seeing what kind of hijinks they can get into, right? Like, I remember the show Jackass, and that was on, and I've seen the movies and I've watched the show, and I'm not even embarrassed to talk about it because some of that stuff was absolutely ridiculous, and you can do nothing but laugh, and it's just a diversion. It's fun, right? And you think about these things. You can make a living having fun right now. And it doesn't mean that I'm telling everybody to go out and just be a goof and a buffoon and make something happen like that. Not everybody can fall off a skateboard and, get 1 million downloads on YouTube. But if you can approach what you're doing with some levity and with an idea that this is going to make someone's day better, whether it is pulling a lever on an assembly line, right? Knowing that the product that you're ultimately manufacturing is going to make someone's day brighter, or you're just checking people out at the store and you try to say something that gets the lean, right? You're trying to say something that just gets their attention a little bit because, hey, this could have been an exchange like any other, but it didn't have to be. So why don't we make this fun?
Right. Well, and I tell you, fun for me ceases to be so if I lose function, which means that if I'm just a goof, right, to use your term, then all of a sudden that's not so much fun anymore. Right. So there is a balance that you find between the goofy side, which I love the goofy, quirky side, to being productive and really being focused on making other people's lives better.
But success is fun, and success takes many forms. we've not shied away from the fact that we both love to play golf, and golf has been described as a good walk spoiled, among other things, right? There's something delightful about playing 17 bad holes of golf and making birdie on 18.
Right.
There is something delightful about just being out there with your friends, even though you're terrorizing yourself, hitting bad shot after bad shot after bad shot.
Have you been watching me play?
But there's just part of it is that experience, and part of it is, look, we all make choices.
Absolutely. And I tell you, what golf is concerned, especially, it's been critical for the growth of my business. I've really made some amazing connections through golf. And Chichi Okizi and I met through golf, even though we were both Emory alums, and really hit it off. And I've made several other strong connections for my business just on the golf course. And it wasn't as if I, took a client out for those 18 or the 9, whatever we were playing. It was just that, hey, we're in a group. We're all going out. We're getting to know each other. And all of a sudden we're figuring out, okay, well, how I can help you here. Maybe you can help me there. Right. So that's the networking portion of fun activities like golf is almost immeasurable.
And let's try to measure it. Let's think about the people that you have the most fun with. What do? You try to find ways to have more fun with them. What does that mean?
Sure.
You try to do business with those people.
Yep.
And there's got to be a way we can work together. That's how you and I started this podcast.
That's exactly right.
Treacherous, terrorizing, fear-inducing project of a company that we decided to start without deciding to start. We said, this is fun. We got to do more of this. We can help people.
I think we said basically we're having way too many fun, insightful conversations that no one's listening to. We are not adding value to the world.
Right. So we did this, and we also we talked about marketing in general, and we talked about selling in general, but particularly when it came to both of our businesses, which were very much in their infancy when we met, and are still, if anything, in their toddlership, if you can call it that. The idea of how do we get people to know who we are? Mm-hmm. Why does authenticity kind of ring such a bell with us when Christina and Shannon and others are on here talking about it? It's because we know that we do business with people that we want to have fun with, that we have had fun with, and that we relate to. And here, press record, and we're just going to talk. And then what comes out, comes out. And then, for the most part, that's what you listeners at home or in your car or wherever you are, that's what you hear. There's not a whole lot of editing that goes into this, other than, where I trip over myself and say, stop, hold on, rewind that, let's go again, right? I mean...
There's not an awful lot of that. So, just for anyone who's concerned, there's not an awful lot of that.
I got to remind myself when I go to edit this later that wasn't actually something I needed to stop and rewind. But you put your best foot forward when you're having fun.
Sure, and absolutely.
That's the thing. Life's too short. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. And when you're having fun, you're presenting yourself in the best possible light.
Right.
And fun is underrated, and I think we've got to. I think we've got to realize that and start giving it its due.
Maybe that needs to be our mission at the Why and the Buy, is to inject fun back in life, right?
So
that'll be our why. So
that's
why
right.
is your why?
Yeah. So what's your why? Well, we're out here to have fun, and we're out here to help other people by having fun and showing them that by having fun they can help themselves and others.
I think that's awesome. So I think that's a great place to end. We're going to do this as a mini-sode today, and I did want to do a quick appeal to our listeners. If you are listening to the Why and the Buy, you've enjoyed what you've heard.
If you're having fun,
send us a note. If you're having fun, absolutely send us a note. Give us a review on iTunes. We're seeing great growth on a weekly and monthly basis to the subscriberships. So we'd love for you to go out on iTunes, leave us a review, tell us what you want to see more of, maybe what you want to see less of or hear less of. And certainly if you have any topics or guests that you'd like us to consider, please do email us at thewhyandtheby@gmail.com. And Jeff, next week, we are excited. We're going to have Don, the idea guy, back to talk about a topic that we kind of ended up on the cutting room floor, I guess. But we wanted to come back and revisit it because he's got some great ideas on how to handle objections. What do you do when the customer says no? And I think that's going to be a fabulous episode.
It's always fun to have Don, the idea guy, on.
Yes, I agree.
And the guy's just a blast. I got to tell you, too, not to name drop here, but I've had beers with Don, the idea guy, and it's fun to have beers with Don, the idea guy, too.
Oh, well, I'm going to have to work on that.
Yeah, we're going to have to figure that part out. So, if you guys are having fun with us, then tell us. You can get us on Twitter at The Why and the Buy, or at Walters Christie, or at Jeff Bajorek. We have a website. You can leave comments there. You can hit us up on LinkedIn. We have a YouTube page where these episodes are available via YouTube. There's so much more that we are going to be doing with this, and we're happy to have people along, namely you, generic listener number 473. We're happy to have you along. Please tell us what you like and help us continue to do this because, we're having fun and we hope you are too. So until next week, Christy, as well as I know, as well as any repeat listener of this podcast knows, that when you know your whys, your hows and your whats get a whole lot better. So come back next week and let's talk to Don.
And have fun.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Why and the Buy podcast. If you liked us, subscribe. We can be found on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, and really anywhere else you can get a podcast. And if you really liked us, then give us a 5-star review. We like those, and we like you too. Here at the Why and the Buy podcast, we've got our own house band. Christy and I think they're absolutely perfect for what we're trying to do with this podcast, and we hope you think so too. If you like them as much as we do, then you should check them out. They're called Haskins, and they're based in southeastern Michigan. You can find their music and more at haskinsmusic.com. Go check them out.